They're still going to be holy defenses to keep Falcons' base intact. But hold up. Ogwin going to be stunned up as well. Super Prince goes up the Crimson Beacon. Now the Feather Airstrike into the back. Ogwin almost getting that kick, but Kelra gets the shot down. Super Marco going back and forth.
Even when fighting underneath the inhibitor, Onic still went even. Kelra somehow escapes once more few. Once the kill, couldn't fight it. Kelra finally goes.
They will wait for that wave down below to continue slow pushing with a crown for Super Prince. Fatizi has the pin down. That's a fist crack from Flat Super Prince. Still able to escape.
Yeah, Ogwin will be pulled back, but he has immortality, and he flickers to save the King Kong. Finds Phil and munches him down.
Super Marco brought it again. Has the Mind Force, goes back in. Wait, the Dragon Appeal. Kirk taken down. No, he's still able to survive for a bit longer. Kelra getting him down in the back as Shadow Kill comes in. Brusco going for the stun. Ogwin still in.
Phew, don't walk up. Don't walk out, buddy. Phew.
Has to flicker out, but Kirk is going to be following in through. Now Super Marco pops into his bond for Super Prince, forces the Crimson Beacon out of there as Kirk will just be treaded down. Has the immortality, will be able to go for another Inferno pursuit. With the Dragon over to King Kong, and now it's Super Marco caught!
Yeah, and King Kong takes down Super Marco in the process. Ogwin comes back with the immortality, but he is trapped. Forced to flicker, Winter Crown forced down by Phil, but he's gonna die. You technically have longer range compared to the Dusin by default, and the range to a certain degree. So this Badang is gonna be very valuable, helping Phil shine.
Yeah, I also like the fact that it's going to be Husky as well as Mirko taking care of you guys for game number 2.
Already in 20 seconds, so just in time for the buff takes Mirko. Obviously, Hanzo getting a bit of a head start, but after game 1, this is a way better adjustment from Onic, right? Getting King Kong, a jungler, not the most ideal, but it is something. And of course, having more control in that mid lane.
It's so crucial for Onic Philippines to play with their trio mid, right? Because yes, it's cool and all when you have Kelra on a Granger. Usually that's already like an insta win. But up against a team like Team Falcons, you might need more than just Kelra in the gold lane, especially considering Kelra's up against another monster. That's Super Marco. Right before the Kelra era, this was the guy who was just unbeatable in gold.
Yeah, it was kind of the era before Kelra, right? You're looking at 2 different generations. I would say that there is a lot of pressure mid-side, so Phil will have to flicker, get a bit of health back from that, the healing orb and the camp.
Walks up. Oh, Super Prince going to be caught now. Shadow Kill. Good flicker out from Super Prince escaping. But it did force out Brusco and Prince to use both their resources, both their spells.
Both junglers, both mid laners are now very vulnerable to the enemy jungler, that's for sure. Kelra did end up freezing that bottom wave just to stabilize the state a little bit, considering that he did get jumped on by Ogwin at level 1, who, understanding that Dusin Hylos is going to push that mid wave anyway, makes an early rotation bot just to give Super Marco a head start.
Very slow game this time around. No first bloods. Both of them learned from their mistakes. No crazy brawls at the start. But it really feels like with this draft, Falcons are going back to, all right, the meta. We're not going to try to go for these cheese picks every single game, right? We want to catch you off guard with it. So if Falcons get a game here, I think it'll be quite troublesome for Onic Philippines because they're just going to have so much to think about in the next draft.
Yeah, and it's also in part to Onic having some deterrent with that first 2 pick, right? Dusin herself is a deterrent for any, beefy immobile front lines. So I would say that this turtle take is going to get delayed because both junglers, they don't really have the best ways to take it.
Okay, Ogwin's going to be chunked quite a bit there. Gets picked up again by Lantern Flare. And this is the thing about why the Hanzo has not really been the best of picks in the Philippines, right? We actually got the interview with King Kong, and he said the teams are just so much slower. They don't rush into fights. So Turtle 1, you can see King Kong, he's not even in his shadow form. Just go straight for it with the rest of the team. And Team Falcons are in no rush to match it. They know in the bottom lane what happened to you. And again, it's Kelra who gets a 2v1 win. And Onic Philippines get the Turtle. Now it's a lockdown over to Caltizi, who went in with the quad shadow, another shadow kill over onto the revitalized members.
Oh!
They're healing on that damage.
It's a set from Flat, but there's no damage. This was the time that they needed Phil to be around. Ogwin does find a kick.
Way the Dragon, locking him down in the base, the pin down to Kirk. Still able to get away, has the Inferno Pursuit, gets the jump down, and Super Marco rotates over. Saman Force and Brusco shall be taken down. Kirk is running away.
They need to get Kirk better airstrike. Kirk buys distant with the demonic ascent, the chase, but still traded. All things considered, not the worst for Team Falcons. I would like to say that it's probably an outplay from Kelra down bottom because they wanted to put pressure on him. But Phil going down definitely sucks, and he might die again.
Oh no, another dive over from King Kong, but Phil gets out of the range just barely. Now it's a fist crack from Mr. Manflap Teasy on that playmaker.
Give it a playmaker, and he will keep doing it. Shadow Q used by Kyle. He will get away, and Flap ensures that Falcons retreat.
They really are trying to outmuscle Onic Philippines here. It looked so good for Onic Philippines, but then you slow down a bit. You see the goal lead, you see that kill lead. It's all still Team Falcons.
Still Team Falcons, for sure. But I mean, at least the important members are getting the kill, right? Marco, Flap, Few, most importantly, those two big magic damage dealers. And it's so hard for Super Prince to catch Ogwen, at least. I mean, he can lift it every now and then, but he has low cooldowns on his abilities. And Flap so far has been phenomenal, right? Game 1 CC, Game 2 Padang. These sets are very dangerous, especially when Onic Philippines drop the Glorious Pathway. You want to run in a straight line, Flap will welcome you with open arms.
Wow. Now in the bottom lane they go. Another slow few seconds until we see the turtle. Super Friends gaining control. Again, Few gonna be engaged on this time with the Glorious Pathway. Surely he shall fall. Feathered Airstrike used up. Flap all alone gets brought by. Inferno Pursuit has the fist crack, but the Lantern Flare is perfect from Prince.
Bit of an error from Flap to just walk up. Maybe comms broke down a little bit, and it is going to escalate more. Onic PH getting a free turtle and a free mid-tier 1 5 minutes in. I would say Kyle would probably get the top tier 1, which is a bit of an exchange. But with Kirk arriving in time, they're not even going to lose that bottom though.
Uh-oh, so Marco forced to flicker out as well. Jumps back in with Zaman, forced back and forth over to King Kong, who has the Soul Snatch. But there's not enough damage to really threaten Marco. Still, an amazing trade, baiting out Flicker out from Marco.
This would probably prompt Flap to start sticking with the rest of the team, even though he wants to stay in lane, get some resource, but seems like that timer has been sped up a little bit. Luckily on the Badang, you do have ways to set up without needing much levels, right? It's all about that crowd control with that Flicker Snap Engage alongside Ogwen.
Now, Onic Philippines are definitely the ones in control. They've been able to, again, create a chaotic environment for this Hanzo to thrive in.
That's the best case scenario. They've been forcing Few's hands every single time. They see him, they jump him, they force his flicker out whenever it's online. Few so far has not been able to comfortably sit in the fight and contribute.
Unable to get the G-Kundo away. The Dragon Ogwen now forced to flicker out. Few also another flicker. 3 flickers down now. Onic Philippines, they're baiting this out like it's nothing.
Yeah, they do it. They are going to keep doing it over and over again. They see Flap and Kyle topside. They start running at Team Falcons. It's not about necessarily getting the kills. That is always going to be a bonus at this stage of the game. But you force out important resources is akin to winning that macro anyways. You take control of jungles, you take the camps, you reset the waves. And now, Falcons, you really got to start thinking of how you want to move Flap and Kyle around the map.
Glowing wand already for Mr. Super Prince. I think Kelra already has a Sky Piercer too. He's building towards a Sea Halberd actually here, ladies and gentlemen. A Sea Halberd for burst. I mean, obviously up against the Harith, sure, but man, even these frontliners won't really be able to take that damage once he gets Sea Halberd plus Malefic Roar later on. Marco gets traded in the bottom lane. There's going to be a turret falling, I believe, up top as well. Turtle number 3.
Timing for the Sea Halberd is going to be just nice because Flap TZ is going for the Oracle, right? So that reduction will come in on time. So in the case, whatever advantage Falcons wants to get for themselves, it's a 1k goal lead, but you look at the bigger picture, it feels like it's more than just 1,000 because of how much control Onic has.
Good rush, by the way, from Kirk. Radiant armor rush here as he gets a Dreadnought. Also the tough boot, so a lot of emphasis on just that magic damage. They know that this Hayabusa, if it doesn't get kills early, won't really be too big of a threat. And you can see, again, the slow take from Onic Philippines as they have Brusco on it. Purple buff taken by Mr. King Kong earlier. Glorious Pathway, just a zone, a free turtle. Neutral objective for Onic Philippines.
It's a vacuum, a constant vacuum. An Area 51, Falcons just cannot walk up. They have to full commit. They're thinking about it. Seems like there's no opening though.
No, it's just, they can't do it, right? They show up, you get the Quad Shadow on, but if it's on Kirk or Brusco, you're putting yourself in danger.
Your best bet is Kelra or Prince, but then if Kirk is standing nearby, there's no chance at all.
Yeah.
He just tracks you down.
His shoulder bashes you, man. Bodies you. And Ogwen now is really... At this point, they're waiting for Super Marco, right? That's the win condition. And in case you guys are wondering, what are Falcons waiting for? And if they wait, do they have a chance? Yes, Super Marco needs to get to those item power spikes. He's currently standing on a feather of heaven. So Holy Crystal should be the timing where you would see more fights for Falcons. But knowing Onic Philippines are going for so much magic defense, I might say Divine Glaive.
I was thinking the same. But looking at the components he has, he's probably thinking about the Holy Crystal Rush. And he even had to stop halfway, right? Stop by a gas station and buy that leather jerkin just because of the trade early on. So does slow him down set him back by a couple hundred gold. That means they are going to keep losing more and more control on the map, right? The Onic PH, this measly 2k gold lead at 9 minutes doesn't seem much, but it essentially slowed down Falcons for at least 5 minutes.
FLCN, oh, King Kong with the munch on the purple. You can't really say he stole the purple. He just ate it, man. He just consumed that purple. But up down,
Oh, no.
flicker again. It's just the name of the game at this point. Like for Team Falcons, it's all about distracting, getting space, so that up top you can have Super Marco freely farm. Good move by Flap there, pinning King Kong down, making sure Few's safe.
It's like every flicker on the PH Force is a 2-minute window where they can play a bit more aggressively, where they feel a lot more safe, knowing that Ogwin doesn't have a snap engage. Flap TZ doesn't want to do it right now. They're gonna try though.
Okay. Flap TZ is actually gonna be the one caught. Sky Piercer, not even. It's Super Prince who picks up the kill.
Just say he doesn't want to do it, and he does it anyways. The team wasn't even ready. You can see he gets the engage off, and Falcons were like, "We can't. Sorry, man. You gotta go." And it's at a pretty bad timing. Lord just spawned. Ogwin might go down.
Yeah, it should be Ogwin taken down this time by King Kong. Free Lord over to Onic Philippines. Team Falcons have been playing an anti-fight kind of game for the longest time, but you're eventually going to have to fight. And Onic Philippines, no, it's either for the Lord or you just lose it out. Few. Connor the Soul Snatch still has the wings by wings, gets out. But this gold lead is going to build up, as you saw Kaltizi earlier, unable to get a trade.
And this is going from bad to worse. Ogwin needs the flicker to function, and without that, only Flap has to wait, has means of engage. But I feel like if you are Flap TZ right now, you don't want to be the primary means of engage, right? Ogwin has to be the distraction. You know, you force some Onic PH hands, and then Flap comes in as a second layer. But now, it's another 50 seconds on the clock, because Flap doesn't have his flicker, and they have to contend with a Lord crashing in topside.
So this Cho, right? Who do you kick at this point, right? I guess Kelra, but how do you kick him when there's so much peel? And even if, let's say, you do get the kick on Kelra, the rest of your team will have to deal with King Kong Prince and Brusco, who's diving in. They just have so much dive, so much peel. Everything is very well planned right now. Lord charges up top. It should be dealt with. This is not going to be the end just yet. There's still going to be holy defenses to keep Falcon's base intact. But hold up. Ogwin going to be stunned up as well. Super Prince goes into the Crimson Beacon. Now the Feather Airstrike into the back. Ogwin almost getting that kick, but Kelra gets the shot down. Super Marco going back and forth.
Even when fighting underneath the inhibitor, Onic still went even. Kelra somehow escapes once more. Few. Once the kill, couldn't find it. Kelra finally goes down to Marco. But Super Prince should be chased down. Flickers to safety.
So Marco on the chase with Few. Looking for that chase. Doesn't have the flicker, but Prince is sandwiched. Synchrofish, Super Marco, Zaman Force. That's a kill. Right as the Holy Crystal comes up, it's Team Falcons who ride that team fight.
So to answer your question, ideally they want to wait for Marco and Few to have more than enough damage. So if I kick Kirk or Brusco, we can burst them down in an instant. But hey, they have a 6-man, right? They had the inhibitor turret to help them out in that fight. Kyle should survive this, thankfully. So Falcons won because they had that inhibitor. Even then, it was a hard-fought battle, but it did give them breathing room. Onic PH now shrunk to just a 1,300 gold advantage. The inhibitor didn't go down, so if anything, Falcons, they're breathing big sighs of relief.
Husky, I saw glimpses of the AP Bren playstyle at M5 yesterday against Bigatron, and now I'm feeling it. Team Falcons, this is the exact same way they were able to get that World Championship. They wait for Super Marco, right? Obviously, they want to win in the early game, but if they don't, they can always just trade on the map, look for farm, and get space for Marco to farm. Once he gets those item power spikes that we were talking about, Holy Crystal, Divine Glaive, now they are online. They can start looking for fights. They can start to be the ones proactive on the map because they know they've got a cannon, they got a nuke in that gold lane.
Onic might have overestimated their battle power, right? Brute running so deep in. Kao snuck into the backline in that fight, so essentially causing chaos to Onic PH, the way Onic PH wanted to do. But this second Lord, now Falcons, they're going to feel a lot better contesting this. Bottom wave is in their favor, top wave as well. Falcons can now walk up and gain presence.
Lord started. They're both just chilling right now, both going back and forth. Bottom lane is still neutral.
Watch out for the flicker engage. Both Flap and Ogwen have the battle spells online.
An intense Lord. Can't even call it a dance. They're not dancing with the Lord. They're just hovering over it. Both of them just watching over this Lord. Both very reluctant to be the ones to start it out, to commit.
If you are Onic, you want to take control, but if you are Falcons, you have a lot more, slightly more freedom. That bot wave, I think, is a neutral wave. I'm not sure if the wave crashed in front of the turret just now, but either way, it's good news for Falcons, right? They can play this game forever. As long as Flap has vision, as long as they have the flicker back up, there is always an opportunity for Falcons to catch Onic PH off guard. You don't want a Glorious Pathway into a Badang.
So the bottom lane now is slow pushed into Marco. Bit of poke over to Kirk. King Kong holding on to this Lord. For the airstrike landing on Kelra, taking him to a quarter of HP. Control now given back to Team Falcons, but they are not going to commit. They will wait for that wave down below to continue slow pushing with a crown for Super Prince. Flatteezy has the pin down. That's a fist crack from Flat Super Prince, still able to escape.
Yeah, Ogwen will be pulled back, but he has immortality, and he flickers to save the King Kong. Finds Phil and munches him down.
Super Marco brought it again, has the Mind Force, goes back in, wait, the Dragon Appeal. Kirk taken down, no, he's still able to survive for a bit longer. Kelra getting him down in the back as Shadow Kill comes in. Brusco going for the stun, Ogwen still able to escape, and after all that, it is a 1-for-1 trade.
Mid laner for XP laner. Phil is going to be back in 15 seconds, but I don't think Kao can contest this. He's going to try stuns up, and that is the end of the attempt. Onic PH gets the Lord off of King Kong's assassination.
A prolonged skirmish, a messy one, and that Flap cancels the recall on Kelra. An angle, a window of opportunity. King Kong cancels it out, now walks up over to Flapteezy. Kelra has to recall. This is another window of opportunity for them to deal with this Lord. Bottom lane, you can see the base turret barely surviving that minion crash.
So fortunate for Team Falcons, for Onic PH not losing that inhibitor and now having a chance to get their own. And Team Falcons, they were thinking about dealing with the Lord on the enemy side of the map, but with Onic PH all alive, they will have to accept the fact that this top inhibitor will be conceded. And all things considered, Marco 5-0-2, he's decked out in items. Holy Crystal, Divine Glaive, Blood Wings is going to take off his boots pretty soon, and when that time comes, he is really going to hurt.
We're not in the timestamp of the Evolved Lord just yet, so this is still an Enhanced Lord charging up top, getting a turret down already. King Kong walking forward, gets punched in the face by Flapteezy. Lord dealt with, now the waves coming in.
All Onic PH is going to get off of this Lord, and it's a weakened inhibitor. So silver lining for Team Falcons, right? You don't really lose too much. And Onic PH, they have a weakened inhibitor down bottom that is always under threat. But hey, that next Lord is going to be spawning bottom side, so long lane advantage is going to favor Onic PH regardless.
And you can see this choice now for Super Marco. We've seen, for the most part, Harrods go for concentrated energy towards the late game, and then they sell their boots for Oracle. Here, it's the Blood Wings option for Super Marco. He wants to have that additional movement speed, obviously the shield, but the movement speed too when the shield gets cracked. Because there's just so much chase for the side of Onic Philippines, he needs that additional mobility, and I think that's why he hasn't sold his boots just yet.
That, and also Phil is working towards the Winter Crown, because you don't want to get munched on by King Kong a second time. That was how Onic PH got away with a Lord take just now.
And it's also a late game King Kong on Hanzo.
Yeah.
3-item power spike done, plus the Sea Halberd and the Melphic Roar. Even the frontliners won't be able to take his damage, and that's why Team Falcons, they were aware of the Hanzo on the other side. They didn't go for, super tanky picks. They know even if we go tanky picks late game, this man's a monster. And you can see the respect given over King Kong, diving in over to Flap, so able to escape. That's going to be a fist crack. King Kong low in the back. That should stop Onic Philippines' attack.
That's a win for Onic Philippines already, even forcing out Super Marco's flicker 30 seconds before the Lord spawns. They will have their ultimates, but Super Marco now will be even more vulnerable. He did eventually sell his boots, he just got a Wishing Lantern. So that would be kind of the tipping point, right? Maximum damage. Both mid laners are incredibly worried about the enemy jungler. We saw how Kao almost took out Super Prince if he didn't have that Winter Crown earlier on. Kelra also getting a Winter Crown for himself. It's all about surviving assassinations.
These waves have been amazing, by the way, from Onic Philippines. Again, they've just been so decisive in their actions. Team Falcons have actually been the ones to win out most of the wave control, side lane control. But Onic Philippines have reacted so perfectly. When they saw the slow push down below, they decided, all right, it's time to commit, it's time to look for that fight, and then they got the Lord. Now it's similar. They saw that slow push, obviously for them building up top with the base turret. They saw that Team Falcons was trying to just slow it as much as they can with the freeze, so they broke it.
Few, don't walk up. Don't walk up, buddy. Few.
Has to flicker out, but Kirk is going to be following in through. Now Super Marco pops into his bond for Super Prince, forces the Crimson Beacon out of there as Kirk will just be treaded down. Has the immortality, will be able to go for another Infernal Pursuit. Wave the Dragon over to King Kong, and now it's Super Marco caught!
Yeah, and King Kong takes down Super Marco in the process. Ogwin comes back with the immortality, but he is trapped. Forced to flicker. Winter Crown forced down by Few, but he's going to die too.
2 for 0 for Onic Philippines. Waves coming down slowly. How did Kirk get away from that? Baits out Super Marco, and now he's dead for 30 seconds. Flap buys the Winter Crown, has a bit more time to play with, but there's another wave in the mid lane too, coming down. Ogwen, G Kundo, Glorious Pathway into the back. Calteezy with the shadow kill, brought away from the mid waves, but still has that retribution to go in. Ogwen gonna be caught as well. Goodbye, Calteezy.
So close, yet so far. Flap is gonna fall. King Kong is just gonna batter the crystal, and we got a series on our hands, folks.
An equalizer from Onic Philippines, 1-1. It was never gonna be that easy.
Honestly,
man.
looking at this matchup, I gotta say, this is very Few-centric. Like, when it comes to the win and losses, you gotta look at that far side. Like, we'll be looking at the highlights a little bit later, but how